Ladies and gentlemen of Knucklehead Nation, I am here with the one and only George Francis, promoter of FightersRep.
What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you feeling
I'm
after
good.
these fights?
Oh man, I'm good. It's not the day after, but it's the one after that. But man, we're still recovering from the buzz of Fighters Rep 11, man. That shit was wild, man.
Would you say it's the best event yet? One of the best events? What do you think, in your opinion?
I thought the last Fighters Rep was great, Fighters Rep 10, but I think this one was better because I felt like it had more memorable moments. And then I feel like the main event, it's not always on a card of 15 fights that you have the main event turn out to be the best fight. You know what I'm saying? That main event, Ivan, come on, man. Come on, Ivan. You know that main event was nuts, man. David Pacheco gets dropped heavy in that first round. I'm thinking of and Andrew Wynn's fans, filling up half the damn. He brought half of Fresno with him. And Pacheco brought half of Riverside with him. It was wild. Gets dropped heavy. He looks around. You know who he looked like to me?
Who?
Remember, I think it was in Bloodsport or one of those Van Damme movies where he got like the dust blown in his eyes and he was like, that's what Pacheco was gone, dude. And he gets up and survives that first round somehow. Actually, starts to rally back at the end. Comes back in the second round. Hurts Wynn. Drops him. Wynn gets back up again. They're going back and forth. There's a picture that I think it was Marco that sent it to me. We haven't posted where I'm sitting there like this. That was the wildest fight. There were so many people on both sides screaming their heads off, and I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. But yeah, I think that fight by itself, man, that one put it over the top for me, over Fighters Rep 10, combined with Vinny Famolari's performance. I gotta say, Vinny Famolari's knockout over Gabe Silva was just, he said he was going to do it in spectacular fashion. He was all over the internet and social media saying he was going to do that. The guy's hyper entertaining. He's got a ton of followers. Went into the fight, I think, in everybody's eyes as the underdog. But, you got to keep in mind, Vinny Famolari, before this fight, was 9-5. He had more experience than Gabe Silva. Gabe Silva had some experience, but he'd been out of the ring for a while. He'd been out of the ring since Fighters Rep 9. Remember, we couldn't get him on last time because his opponent fell out. So, maybe it was the inactivity. But, more than anything, I just think Vinny Famolari is just a really good fighter. And his ability to land that spinning back fist and in that fight. It was just those sort of crazy, outrageous moments of this card that we had some moments on the last card, but not like this, man. A main event like that. And the Vinny fam capturing that West Coast IKF title, the biggest amateur title we've ever given out. And Sasha, you could bring that here. She's over there. She's bringing us some boba. You could bring it in. Yeah, it's not that serious. We're casual. We're casual. Thank you. Appreciate it. And so...
Thank you.
I also, let's also not forget, I don't know. I felt like the fights on this card were just wild. You mentioned Fabian Hernandez versus Gustavo Flores. Fabian, is a character. The way he came out with the Mexican flag and the Mexican music and just feeling himself. And that guy's he's like such a manly, he's like a pure machismo, you know what I mean? He jumped into the ring and stomped the ground. He was staring Gustavo Flores down between rounds.
Smiling,
smirking, just talking to him, telling him
nodding.
Before the third round, telling him let's throw it down, and a beautiful fight from him. A beautiful fight. And Gustavo Flores, let me tell you, he beat him in their first fight. This was a rematch. For Fabian to act that way in the rematch against a guy he lost to, just, incredible night of fights. There was a lot of other great fights on this card, man. And you said you felt like it was louder. I thought when Khalil was fighting, when Vinny and Gabe were fighting, Khalil and Mello, Vinny and Gabe, when Pacheco and Wynn were fighting. I mean, you couldn't hear anything. It was so loud. It was a, your ears were ringing.
Personally, that Flores Hernandez fight, two Mexicans, it just reminded me of something like from boxing.
Barrera Morales or something like that. That's
Yeah.
what it was. That's what it was.
Two Mexicans just going at it.
High level,
Technical.
yeah. But
Going at it.
But arrogant confidence. I
Yeah.
mean, arrogant. I mean, you hit me, I'm gonna hit you back.
Yeah.
Eric Morales. That's what I think, though.
And personally, if hypothetically speaking, if the Andrew Nguyen and the David Pacheco fight wouldn't have happened, I think that would have won fight of the night. Personally,
I think it was up there. I think so too. But there were a lot of great fights on the card. I also wanted to mention, man, there was some real nice prospects on the card too. I mean, Cameron Spencer made his debut.
heavy hands,
Bro.
power.
I mean, I've heard rumblings, people calling him like a little Tyson and stuff. I mean, he's not little, he's a big guy,
Yeah.
but like young Tyson. He looked good out there, bro. He looked good out there. Of course, his opponent, Willie, he put up a good fight. It was his debut as well. He was in great shape. But, man, Cameron looks, I don't know, man. Cameron looked kind of special out there. Light-skinned daddy. Went up against Guillermo de los Santos at a Squirrel, Muay Thai. I thought that was a great fight as well.
Two heavyweights, but
Two
they were
heavyweights,
agile.
They were moving, man.
Yeah.
They looked good. Guillermo, I mean, I don't know, reminded me a little bit of Andy Ruiz, man. A little, big body type, but fast hands, good combinations, looked really good. And of course, light-skinned daddy, man, moving like a middleweight, man. I mean, they were both really impressive, man. Really impressive. A lot of fights on the card that we could talk about, man. I mean, they were just...
Another one that was for a belt
Tell
was
me.
Evan Bolton.
Evan Bolton and Andrew Rivera.
Yeah. No, I saw Andrew Rivera. I loved the way he entered the ring. He was
with the AR-15.
Yeah.
I thought that was dope too. And Andrew Rivera, he's a bad dude, man. He just told me Georgia. He was in Georgia. I think he's in the military. He was out in Georgia. Now they moved him back to extreme Northern California near Oregon. He was telling me, Georgia, I just want to fight, man. I just want to fight. And I said, man, I just want the best fighters. And you're the guy with the IKF welterweight title. You're the guy, Andrew. I'll fly you in, Push some tickets. Work with me. I'll fly you in. He says, all right, let's go. I said, all right, let's do it. We flew him in, got him his hotel. He brought his belt along with him. And Evan Bolton dropped down from, I think it's super welter to welter, to try to capture his second IKF title. And that was a fight for 5 rounds, back and forth, close. I think what separated them was at one point, I think Evan dropped him.
Yeah.
But man, Andrew landed his shots too. And these are two guys, let's be honest, Ivan. These are two guys, over 70 fights between the two of them. They're ready to go pro. Those are two of the most seasoned amateurs in the world, I think, as far as striking goes. Andrew Rivera and Evan Bolton. It's time for those boys to go pro. Win, lose, or draw. And now they're 2-1. They were 1-1 before this fight. That was the rubber match. And it was close enough to where, you feel like either guy can beat the other on a given night. But man, Evan Bolton, you got to give him his credit. Took this fight on short notice, as did Andrew Rivera. But Evan Bolton does it again. Second time he takes a fight with us on short notice. Captures his second IKF title in a second division. I've been telling people this kid is the baddest thing to come out of Long Beach since Snoop Dogg, man. This is the kid. I'm telling you, this kid's special. But Andrew Rivera too. I look forward to working with him. We're talking about turning him pro. You put Andrew Rivera in there against anyone, Ivan, at that weight class as a pro, he could probably beat most of them. I'm telling you. And same with Evan, of course. He won the fight. But, that's the level these guys are at.
Speaking of going pro, what do you think? I know we spoke about Vinny just a while ago, but what do you think about him going pro?
He's thinking about it. That's why I offer myself up as sort of an advisor as well, not just as a promoter. I'm not just here for me. Me and you, we've talked about this. We do this because we enjoy it. And I want to see these guys succeed. And a lot of these guys don't understand, all the rules and things that you have to do to get title fights and things like that. He mentioned he wanted to fight with Oscar Mueller. I think that's a great fight. But if Vinny takes that fight as an amateur against Oscar Mueller, because he wants to get to a world title, I guess he wants to move up from a West Coast to a world. I think the next move up would probably be a national title. But look, you have to look at the guy's record. If he's got a couple losses and wins and losses and wins, and Oscar's been taking hard fights. He's coming off of a loss, but he had a win before that. I don't think the IKF would be okay making that a national or world title. What they would be okay doing is having Vinny defend his West Coast title against Oscar, who's a very dangerous fight. I mean, Oscar, especially the kickboxing rule set, who wants to fight Oscar Mueller? Unlimited cardio. He's coming at you. He's got good power. He's durable. You've never even seen the guy hurt. So I don't know if that's the best fight to make at the amateur level. I think Vinny goes pro, because what better way is there to go pro than, coming off of a win like that and capturing the biggest amateur title that we've ever given out. To be honest with you guys, I've never even heard, Ivan, of a West Coast title. I've never even heard of it. And for him to capture it the way he did, in the fashion he did, man, that's the springboard. Who else is there to fight? That's the springboard to the pros, in my opinion. Now, at the end of the day, going pro is a very important thing to think about. So I want him to sit down with his coaches. I told him that. We had a conversation already. I told him, look, I want you to sit down with your coaches and think about it. But if you defend, but if you take another amateur fight, you want it for a world or national title, whatever it is, we're going to have to find someone who's got like 5 wins in a row. It might be somebody outside of the country. Is it really worth it for an amateur fight, for us to find someone outside of the country and bring them in and qualify them for this sort of title? It's a lot of headache. I think the most realistic thing that can happen to Vinny on an amateur front, if he wants to stay amateur, is he's just going to end up having to defend his title, which means risking losing it. So he's the kind of guy that would do that. But I just think, with the career he's had already, combined with his age, combined with the win he just came off of, it's brilliant to go pro. And I think Oscar Mueller needs to go pro. Maybe take one more amateur fight, get a good win, and go to the pros yourself, Oscar. I've been telling Oscar for 2 fights now, you need to go pro, bro. He's done everything. He fought Wilson Ha, he fought CJ. He's fought
Wilson
everyone.
Ha just became pro too.
Right, he fought Wilson's a pro now. So that division is stacked. Because you got Wilson Ha, potentially Oscar Mueller and Evan Bolton and Andrew Rivera. If they go pro, you got John Garcia around that weight class, Mikey 2 Raw Shaw. Just with the amount of guys, Vinny Pham, if he decides, just with the amount of guys around that weight category, 140, 150, 160, we can have fights for days, just right here. CJ is thinking about going pro as well. He can cut down to 142 and fight at 150 like he did at FightersRep 10. So there's a lot, there's a lot of guys at that weight.
Let's talk about some of the fights that might have flown under the radar.
Man, you know what? Got the list right here. We can go through one by one if you want. We started out with Diego Guzman versus Raymond Martinez.
First fight.
Both making their kickboxing debut. Raymond had an MMA fight. I thought that was a lot of fun, man. That was a great fight. Rage, his one bell style versus, the all-in MMA guys who are very technical and tough themselves. And I felt like Ray landed a ton of thudding shots, and Diego didn't go anywhere and landed his shots back. Great opening fight, I thought, to get the card started. And then, Christian Tobias comes back to the Lions Den versus Ruben Solis. Another very exciting back and forth fight, man. He was hurt in that first round. I think Ruben had him hurt, and they called an 8 count. Am I right? So. I think it was an 8 count, and Tobias was able to come back and come away with a draw.
Yeah.
That was a really fun fight.
It was. I thought he was. He looked improved. Even though it was a draw, he looked more improved than when he fought Shane Collins.
Oh yeah. No, he looked far improved. One thing he did in this fight that he wasn't able to do in that first fight, I think, was recover and come back.
Yeah.
He recovered. He listened to his corner, Sean Yakubian, and he came back and he tied it up. But, Ruben saw something there. He said, man, when I'm opening up, I'm hurting this guy. And he played it smart as well. He said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fight aggressive. I'm going to go after him. And, shout out to the Shack system, Coach Phil, man. Big shout out to him. He had a hand in Vinny's camp as well. That's one of those camps we've been working with for a few years. I hadn't seen them in a while, but I was very excited to have them on. They were a small camp, but they're getting bigger all the time. They're opening up a new gym, so congrats to them. That was a lot of fun. Then we had Hector Vergara, Edgar Zaragoza. Man, how can you forget about that fight, right?
From the opening bell.
Those guys went to war, man. Those guys went to war. Edgar Zaragoza got the win there, but Hector did not come to lay down for nobody, man. What did you think of that fight?
I thought that was another great fight. Yeah,
that was another.
Zaragoza just keeps improving after each fight. He fought for us FightersRep 10, and it was just maybe about a month apart.
Yeah, I mean his pace,
improved.
His cardio is ridiculous. I mean, that kid's an alien. I don't know if you remember the picture from FightersRep 10 where he's standing there like this. He's got like veins coming out of his chest. I said, holy shit, this guy's got like 2 cardiovascular systems or something. But that's a credit to his camp himself, but his camp too. Coach Anthony Eisenhower and Brood 9. Big shout out to them, man. Coach Anthony does not mess around when it comes to cardio and conditioning. The guy runs a marathon every week. I'm like, Coach, what are you doing? I'm running a marathon. He's going to New Orleans to go run a marathon. This guy's crazy. So, they take that very seriously. But, on the other side, Hector Vergara, amazing fight. Came up short, but amazing fight. I would love to see him again. Heart of a lion, landed some real big shots as well. And, out of NHC, Krishna Kim, man, those guys come to fight every time. Joshua, Fochman, Noah Cole, all these guys, they come to fight. So we'll see him again. Who else do we have, Ivan? Oh, man, David Marquez, the death dealer, versus Anush Sabri. Pretty good fight there. Pretty good fight there, yeah. David Marquez, apparently had a bit of an injury because I felt like he could have done a bit more. I felt Sabri was very aggressive as well. I thought it was a good fight. But I felt like Marquez was more effective and kind of let him off the hook a few times, and I kind of talked to Coach Pot about that. I said, I thought, Marquez did good. He got the win. But I felt like he let him off the hook a couple times. He told me he had hurt his right hand. I was like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But beautiful performance by him, getting his first win in the Lions Den. And Sabri was very aggressive too, nothing to be ashamed of. I thought that was a good fight, both of them. Again, 2 great camps I want to continue to work with. Of course, Sabri out of Muay Thai America with Coach David Huey, our commentator. So, and of course, David from All In MMA, Coach Bond, Coach Johnson. Got nothing but love for those guys. 5th fight, we had Gabriel Basso versus Mark Kaminsky. This was a bit of a surprise for me. Because, first off, it was a pleasant surprise because Coach, Boss Ruben in Basso's corner. And, second, because, I was weary to make this fight because Kaminsky had more experience. Of course, he's gotten married since then, and he hasn't fought in a couple years since COVID or whatever. But I thought this was a tough first fight for Basso, so I had to have a long conversation with Boss and tell him, look, this is a tough fight. You guys sure? Like, here's the video of Mark. Like, you guys sure you want to take this fight? He's like, yes, George, trust me. This guy's a savant. This guy's got talent. He just picks things up abnormally fast. And I said, okay, if Boss Ruben's telling me this, let me shut my stupid mouth and listen to him, right? We let him in there. I mean, every time he's throwing a punch, it is fast. It is ferocious. This kid's got explosion in his punches and just landed some body shots that were really getting to the very tall, long torso of Mark Kaminsky, 6'5". Landed that liver shot, I think it was, and ended the night. And 1 punch knockout to the body. I was just very impressed by that, Ivan.
Yes, so was I.
That's all you're going to say about it?
I thought you were gonna keep on going down the list.
It was good.
I was. I wouldn't say I was surprised, but I was impressed.
Yeah, and he was thinking about pulling out. I mean, he had an injury, And I was like, hey, let me know. And then they said, you know what, we're just going to fight. We've already cut the weight. And I think now they're going to look back on that and say, oh, thank goodness we didn't pull out. Mark Kaminsky, though, still a ton of talent.
Yeah.
Maybe just wasn't his night. That guy's a beast. He had a knockout in the last time that he fought for us. So, he'll be back.
Yeah, I think Basso just capitalized, on that, I guess, on his height, used it to his advantage.
Yeah, which you don't see a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, usually it's the big guy using their advantages, but Basso was able to expose kind of that body, that long body. And then we had Kevin Ross, Guillermo de los Santos. We already talked about that. Good fight. David Rivera's opponent pulled out, but we won't talk about that because we don't want to give any shine to people that pull out.
But we hope to have him back.
David Rivera, yes. Yeah, David Rivera. And then we had Khalil Silva, Malo Pamuk. What did you think of that fight?
I thought it was a good back and forth action.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I think they were both, kind of waiting, or more Khalil waiting for the right opportunity to counter, but some back and forth action. Steady pace.
They're counter fighters.
Yeah.
The Silvas are counter fighters. That's what I feel like.
Yeah,
for the most
for sure.
part. They wait for you to make a mistake and they get you. You
Yeah.
know, and they fight like their dad, I guess. You know what I mean? It's entertaining to watch. I thought Khalil, I thought Khalil pulled it off, but I thought it was a good fight. I thought Melo, had his moments. They both could have done more, but they're still beginners. They're still learning, and I thought Khalil came away with a good win. But again, Melo, nothing to hang his head about. I mean, I'd love to have him back, and get him another fight. Of course, Khalil, we'd love to have him back too. I think, he finally got the experience he needed. That last fight, 8 seconds or whatever it was. I mean, he didn't get any experience in that. So this time he was fighting a guy in Melo, very tough, sturdy guy. With more experience than him, so I think it was good for him.
Great experience for both fighters.
Yeah, I think it was good. We talked about Gustavo Flores, Fabian Hernandez, but man, I really enjoyed that fight. I really enjoyed that fight. I enjoyed that fight. We talked about Bolton versus Rivera. We talked about Silva versus Famulari. Now, one thing I wanted to add about Silva versus Famulari, I asked, because the way it ended, it was a spinning back fist. That kind of was the beginning of the end, yeah. And I asked Famulari, man, I was like, I asked him, like, did you, plan that? Was that instinct? Like, what was he told me it was just instinct. And the guy just...
I'm not surprised.
he overextended, I guess, on the right...
No, he threw a kick.
He threw a kick, then he threw a right hand, or it was a right hand, then a kick.
No, I think it was a right kick, right low kick, but he missed, so he's...
But he also threw a right hand with it. And then he spun and threw the left.
I might have to watch that again.
Yeah, something like that. But anyway, it was just right on the money, man. Right on the money. As we were just talking about the counter. As Silva was countering him.
With the right.
So Vinny countered the counter with a spinning back fist.
Yeah.
I mean, it was... I told him, man, that's ultra instinct if that was instinct, man. That was right on the spot. And then he just didn't let him recover. And the crazy part is Gabe had after the 8 count, less than 30 seconds left to survive the round. Excuse me, but Vinny just didn't let him. He didn't let him.
Just pressured him.
Yeah.
Didn't stop, yeah.
Next fight, we had Conor Bracken versus Tyler Smith, man.
Co-main event.
Bracken, man. I thought Smith put up a good fight.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, he landed some huge shots on Bracken.
Yeah, Smith has some power on those kicks.
Yeah. And punches, dude. He was landing some shots. I mean, there was sweat flying, but of course, Bracken, man, it's a fucking zombie, man. I mean, you got to shoot that fucking guy to beat that guy. I mean, I don't know what you got to do to stop that guy. We saw him in there against Eddie Jackson, taking shots like that. We saw him in there against Smith. But listen, he comes back, and he throws even harder. And he landed some huge shots in this fight on Tyler Smith, who also showed durability. But the thing with Bracken is he's always moving forward.
Yeah.
And his opponents are always moving back. I mean, that's got to be crazy dealing with that pressure, and he was landing vicious kicks and throwing great combos and going high and low. He looked even better than last time, in my opinion. And the guy's just must-see TV, man. I don't know. I mean, what do you think? I mean, for me, the guy's just must-see TV. Man.
I think that you said it perfect. Must-see TV.
I mean, the
yeah,
guy's...
it's just I wouldn't. There's guys who have they just have a personality to him. I wouldn't say that's him because he's reserved, but when you interview him, he's on the mic. He's smooth. He knows how to talk.
Yeah.
So what can I say?
He's just himself, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
He's like cool, but he's a maniac.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing to watch somebody fight like that. I mean, he just comes forward, aggressive, doesn't stop,
doesn't get tired,
and just lands bombs until he breaks you. I mean, he just comes at you until he breaks you. And we've seen him now in 2 fights against 2, good pros, where he's just got that relentless style, man. I think he's only going to get better, man.
And he brings his posse along with him too, from NorCal.
He does, man. He does. But Tyler Smith is a guy. It seems like he works a lot, and I would love to see Tyler Smith continue with kickboxing, because I definitely feel like he's got a lot of potential. He's got a lot. He's very durable. He's very tough, and he landed some crisp shots, man. And I said to myself, this is a great fight. Great fight. So, I think we'll get them both back.
Yeah.
Definitely Conor, but, Smith has done more MMA and everything else. I'm not sure if he'll be open to continuing to do kickboxing. I mean, I think he will. He seems down to do whatever, but I hope we get him back instead of him going to the MMA world, because kickboxing is better. David Pacheco, Andrew Wynn is the next fight, man. We talked about it. I mean, that was just
fight of the night.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. Beyond that was. I'm gonna, catch me if I'm talking trash here, but that was the best fight we've ever had. Is that the best fight we've ever had?
I would have to agree. Yeah.
I mean, how could a fight be better than that, man?
And something I wanted to add to, you mentioned Andrew Nguyen, caught. He threw a left straight, caught
heavy.
David Pacheco in the first round.
Heavy.
He goes down. After that, like you mentioned, David Pacheco came back, got the win, got a couple knockdowns. But not just that, they both got knocked down, but neither of them stopped at any point.
Yeah.
From start to finish.
Neither
of them stopped.
Yeah, it was
they went at it.
We're going to fight to the death. And, Pacheco said, and he was so happy, he was so giddy to be fighting again at that pre-fight interview at the weigh-in. Remember the one I did at the weigh-in?
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw it. He said, I'm ready to leave my every last drop of my heart and my soul and my being in there. And people probably thought he was fucking around saying that. He was serious, dude. Like, Pacheco, I'm telling you, got up, Ivan. I don't know if you noticed it from that first knockout. He was like this, like he just woke up from the dead, dude. And I was like, oh, this guy, it's over. He's gone. For him to come back from that, man, I just said to myself, both of them, man, I said, what are these guys made out of, man? Those guys are not normal, man. You definitely don't want to meet up with either one of those guys in an alley and piss them off because you're fighting to the death. That's crazy. Anyway, we'll go on the next one. We already talked about it. Cameron Spencer, Willie Fields. I thought Cameron Spencer was probably my prospect of the night, man. Probably my prospect of the night, along with Melvin Guerra in that last fight. Melvin Guerra versus Alejandro Flores. We'll get to that, but first let's quickly touch on Noche and Wolfor versus Morgan Taylor. 2 very good 205-pound guys. I thought that was a great fight. And, for me, Noche has a reputation of being strong. I think he's also got good footwork and good speed for a kid his size. But what surprised me was I felt like Morgan Taylor was physically stronger. Like when he threw punches, his punches seemed heavier. The thing is, though, he just wasn't as busy. And it was his first fight. It was Noche's, I think, second or third. So, Noche had some experience on him, was able to get the win, and looked great. Noche looked great, man, training out of Crew Rods, Team Victor. He looked really good. You could tell he's improved, and I think the sky's the limit at 205 for him. But you know what? Same for Morgan Taylor, man. I think he continues to work on his craft over there at Kings Anaheim, man. He's going to be an absolute problem, especially if he can get a little bit busier because, man, I don't know if you noticed, but those shots were heavy that he was throwing.
I noticed.
I was like, my goodness, this guy's like, like a damn video game out there with the shots he was throwing. So that was a great fight. I definitely wanted to touch on that. And then finally, like I said, a prospect that I was very impressed with out of Team Matador, Marcos Bonilla's Team Matador, was Melvin Guerra against Alejandro Flores out of Strength and Mobility, who was a very game opponent. He looked good too. It was kind of both of their first official amateur fights. They both looked good. They put on a hell of a fight. But Melvin Guerra's hands he looked like a damn boxer out there, bro.
Putting it on for the Salvadorians.
He certainly did. I saw a second flag too. I want to say.
Oh, I hope I got that right. Salvadorian, right?
I don't think. Yeah, he's definitely at least half Salvadoran. I want to say maybe half Nicaraguan as well.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but definitely there's some Salvadoran, and there's his Instagram name is Malasalvi. So, there's got to be one there, but I want to say I might be wrong. But I want to say maybe half Nicaraguan, unless I'm starting to forget my Central American flag. But listen, he put on a display. He should be very proud of himself. He seems to be very proud of himself from his Instagram, and he should be. And Alejandro Flores, nothing to hang his head about. He looked great. I'd love to see him back as well. They both put on a show, but Guerra walks away with the performance, with the win. I mean, that's pretty much all I got, I think, man. We touched on every fight.
Yeah, every fight. Any final thoughts? Any info about the next event?
February 4th, we're coming back. It's going to be another amazing event. It's going to be another sold-out event. So don't ask me for tickets the day of or at the weigh-in. No, but definitely February 4th, so definitely get your tickets early as soon as we release them. Thank you to all the gyms. Thank you to all the fighters. Thank you to Knucklehead Nation, all the fans for supporting us. Kickboxing is alive and well, as you saw on Friday night. These guys are bangers. These guys are the most talented young strikers on the planet, and you guys are going to continue to see them in the FightersRep Lions Den. Oh, and big shout out to our sponsors, the Citizen Athlete Project, Channel Lumber, incredibly generous sponsors. We've got Ali Optimal Wellness, Majid Ali, and Beast Coast Unlimited. Also, shout out to Mariscos El Gordo, throwing down with the food at FightersRep. I heard it was delicious. And a big shout out to our newest sponsor, who's going to be providing us with gloves from here on out, Fairtex. We got Fairtex on as a sponsor. I'm very excited about it. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I wanted to ask you before we sign off, Ivan, what did you think of the black and red Lions Den ring?
I loved it.
You liked it?
I think it's sleek.
Thank you.
Clean.
Thank you. I didn't want to do white or red, white, and blue ropes. I wanted something to match the logo, and I thought it would look good. I thought it looked really good.
I think it looks clean, and I think that should be the colors from here on out.
Appreciate it. Big shout out to you for the great footage that you got. Big shout out to Drew, who came out in place of Vahan, who usually gets our slow-mo. So, our highlights might take a little bit longer than usual because Vahan wasn't available. Good luck to him because he's writing his dissertation for his theater school or whatever it is. But he's going to get to editing those highlights soon. Like I said, fight of the night, Pacheco versus Win. Knockout of the night or performance of the night, whatever you want to call it. Famulari versus Silva. And shout out to all the staff, man. Gianna with the pictures, Marco with the pictures. Thank you, guys. That's all I can say. Oh, subscribe to the channel. Join the channel. And again, get your tickets and follow these fighters, man. Support them. If you're a sponsor, sponsor them. Show them some love. Give them some money. Pay for their training camp. Put your brand on their shorts. Get your name out there. Like, comment, share this video with all the businesses. Anybody that wants to sponsor the event as well, you can contact us. We're here. That's all I got, brother.
Thank you, George.
Thanks, man.